Okay, let's talk about the Nazca mummies. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please like and subscribe and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Yeah, we have a few new images from Jose de la Rios Lopez about some other discoveries from the Nazca mummy site or sites, the Citadel, the lab, whatever that site is. There are some new pictures of these specimens of these severed skulls or heads, rather, released, or these images have been released from this site, including this really interesting specimen right there with the big head right there. This more human-looking, maybe a human-sized being. It looks more like Maria with its jaw shape and everything. It appears to have a big implant on the forehead. Really intriguing specimen. Yeah, and that one is awesome. I want to say that we've seen that before, but yeah, this one looks more childlike, tragically. But really intriguing images here. But, you know, we haven't seen a lot of new stuff about the Nazca mummies. So I would like to take this opportunity to kind of connect some dots. While we wait for the next shoe to drop on the Nazca mummy research and the story, let's try to connect some dots. Because there's some really interesting dots to be connected. And one of them has to do with the implants. So what does it mean that the Nazca mummies had implants? And some of them had multiple implants throughout their bodies. And we don't know the purpose of these implants. In a couple of cases, it appears like the implants may have been to correct some physical problem. One of the beings had a broken clavicle and had an implant across the chest, possibly to help with that broken clavicle. So, but we don't know if that's the reason or not. We don't know why they had these implants, but we do know they had them. And because it's unclear what their purpose served, they remain anomalous. So what does that remind us of, or me of? I'm using the collective we here. Hopefully you will have drawn some of the same conclusions. But of course, abductees or contactees of the abduction phenomenon or the contact phenomenon, many of them have implants. Anomalous implants we don't know the purpose of. I don't think they're trackers. I think the beings know where you are. If they want to find you, they'll find you. Do they serve some biological purpose? Are they reprogramming your DNA or having an influence on your thoughts or, spying on? Who knows what they're for? We don't know what they're for, but multiple experiencers have these implants. Some of them have been removed and examined, and we still don't know much about them. But so there is obviously a connection between the abducting race or races that are implanting contactees with these implants in the Nazca beings. So is that a technological common thread? Is that a cultural common thread, or both? Either way, it seems like there is elements of some root culture displayed in both cases. What else do we know? Well, yeah, and here's another amazing implant from Montserrat, this golden disc on Montserrat's head. And I'll be talking a little bit more about Montserrat later, just as a side note. It's really interesting. But okay, so what else do we know? We know that the Nazca beings seem to have been products of genetic manipulation, whether that's experimentation or whether they didn't need to experiment because they had some sort of plan. The originating beings, the creator beings of the Nazca beings, assuming that, they didn't create themselves, or one of these particular species or subspecies didn't create the others, which, hey, is entirely possible. But assuming there is a creator being or race, then it seems like they had either an experiment going on in genetic manipulation, or else some sort of project or plan they were orchestrating and carrying out, and they needed these different species to carry out these whatever tasks they were, whether they were workers or whatever they were. And that's where the interesting part about Montserrat comes in, because Montserrat, a human-sized being with a golden disc in her head who would have given a live birth had she lived. She was pregnant when she died, and she would have given live birth to Raphael, as opposed to the little beings that were egg-laying beings. Very interesting. But Montserrat does not have the issues that Maria had, the physical issues. And Maria had, burned soles of her feet, as if she didn't have shoes and was forced to walk on the hot sand of the Nazca desert. Her teeth were worn down as if she had a coarse diet. She seems to have had a hard life, Maria. Montserrat doesn't have that. Very interesting. Montserrat doesn't have that. So was there a caste system in place where Montserrat, with her golden disc, was somehow elevated over Maria? What was going on there? Very interesting to consider and to try to make sense of all of this. But yeah, so getting back to the idea of genetic manipulation. It's been largely reported and assumed and by many experiencers and researchers into the abduction phenomenon that the gray aliens, specifically the small grays, are created beings, artificially created beings, some sort of living android or something like that. That's not to say they're, robots exactly. They may have their own consciousness and their own will to live and their own thoughts and, personalities to whatever extent. Of course, it gets more complicated with the idea of other dimensional beings potentially occupying some of those bodies, which seems to be the case in some cases. But many of those small grays simply appear to be functionaries or drones created by somebody through genetic manipulation. And this has, been really thrown into the spotlight with research of that unnamed anonymous molecular biologist who posted on Reddit about his research. And I think people have said that was done at Fort Detrick, very interestingly. And that Reddit post, I believe, was removed after 3 days, very suspiciously. But my wife took a look at that research and said that it rang true. It sounded like somebody did the actual research, knew what he was talking about or she was talking about, and that the research appeared authentic and genuine, and not only authentic and genuine, but extremely interesting. And it made sense, and it was logical to my wife, a fellow molecular biologist and scientist. She recombines DNA and stuff. And she says that the research made sense, that the creator beings of the small grays seem to have designed the beings to make it easier for the creator beings to design them. Really interesting. So in the molecular biologist that posted on Reddit, this unnamed person that must have worked with a control group studying these beings, and not George, just to clarify, if any of you didn't see my clarification video, George, the DARPA whistleblower, is not the researcher that researched the Nazca mummy, or excuse, I got Nazca mummies on my brain, sorry guys. Did not research the gray alien genetics. George was using that Reddit post as an example of some of the actual research that has been done on these beings. Getting back to the idea of genetic engineering and hybridization. The gray aliens, whoever created them, seems to have been very interested in or skilled at genetic engineering and manipulation. So did the creator beings of the Nazca beings, assuming again that the Nazca beings didn't create themselves. So that is another common thread, whether it's technological or cultural, because, some cultures just may engage in genetic engineering as a matter of course. That may just be baked into their culture, and the implants may be the same thing. Or it could be that both of them are, purely, practical means to achieving an end. And I assume that's probably what it is. That they serve practical purposes. We need some drones. We're going to create some drones. We need to put implants in our creations for whatever purpose, or our, not just creations, but people that we are working with. So, I assume that it's something like that. I would love more understanding on the implants. Hopefully that will be forthcoming at some point. But there you go. There are two connections between the Nazca beings and the gray aliens, or the abducting race or races in general. But specifically, the gray aliens with their apparently obvious genetic engineering. So I think that we are seeing a connection, a clear connection between the Nazca beings and the creators of the gray aliens, whether that's the tall grays, the mantis beings, or somebody else altogether different. They look a lot like gray aliens. They have these similarities with the implants and the genetic manipulation with the gray aliens. So I think we're looking at some connections between those two groups. How it all works together, I don't know. According to Anita Conan, who did a remote viewing and connected to the Nazca beings, they told her they had been there for a long time. Not necessarily native to Earth, but maybe native to Earth. At the very least, they had been here for a long time. It's unclear if they meant longer than humans, but I guess that's always a possibility, although I'm thinking probably not. They do have human DNA, seemingly, at least Maria does. So, but of course, we could have been created by the same creator race or races. Or our evolution could have been tweaked by those beings. So we ourselves could be part of this story, and that could be where contacts like abductions come into place. They could still be working on stuff. Anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts on all of this. How do we put the pieces of this puzzle together? Let me know how you think it all makes sense in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure appreciate it. Smash the like button and the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. If you want to support Cosmic Road in any bigger way, consider grabbing a coffee mug or a t-shirt in the merch store below, or by becoming a channel member. Channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you so much. Meanwhile, there's plenty of other videos on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.